It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. This is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso, on SABC3. You're right on time for our parenting talk this morning. Now, of course, if you want to be good at something, you have to practice it. And that can be said of many things, including developing good social skills. So this morning, family therapist and registered social worker Kim Abrams joins us in the lounge to talk about the importance of developing good social skills in children and how having good social skills can positively impact our lives. Great to have you back again, Kim.
Thank you.
Kim, you were fantastic last week. Thank you so much.
People wanted you back.
And really interesting topics. This is something that I think Kat and I, being kind of relatively new parents, will be going through in stages. So maybe it's good that we start at an earlier age. But if we had to cast kind of a broad web, social skills, we rely on them now as adults, one of the most fundamental and important skills that we need. But why essentially for a child is it good and important, vital to have good social skills?
I think just touching on what you said, we have to learn how to function in society with different people. So for children to learn social skills is so imperative because they have to learn how to not only develop relationships and friendships with people, but also to maintain them. So, it's easy. We often think of the child who's very sociable as a social butterfly, but that's not always the case. We want children to learn how to function in society and how to be able to manage themselves in different environments.
Yeah, and it's quite funny that you say that it's not necessarily being a social butterfly and being able to mingle with this person and that person and that person. So if you were to build a picture of what the ideal child with a good set of social skills looks like, what does it look like?
So it's not always the child who catches a lot of attention to them when they walk in the room. Sometimes it's often the unassuming child, the quieter child. A child with good social skills is a child who's often very courteous, they're very polite, they know when they enter a room perhaps to greet people around them. It's a child who's also able to express their feelings and to name it and to be able to recognize different cues and expressions from other people around them.
Empathy.
Empathy is a big thing, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. I mean, even as adults, it's something we have to always strive to learn. So for children, social skills is about human connection. It's about interaction.
I love the depth of connection. There's this amazing, one of the older boys at my little man's preschool. It's just so lovely. And he says hello and goodbye to Jack every day. And Jack stole 2 toys from the first day he arrived, walked in, took both of his little toys away. And he's still just, and every time I see this young man, I'm like, your parents are crushing it, dude.
They're doing so well.
That is not necessarily something that can be told, but it's learned through experience. So how do parents develop these skills in our children?
I think just as you said, it's about modeling behavior. There's really simple, practical things you can do to teach your child how to be more, how to really establish their social skills. So for example, if you're grocery shopping, have a chat with the cashier. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them, how their day has been. Your child will observe this and learn, when we are around different people, it's okay to acknowledge people around us.
Respect,
and it's about respect and just being considerate and knowing how to interact with people.
You spoke about the ability to express emotion in, I guess, somewhat of a mature kind of way. And I think one of the biggest things that a lot of parents fear is, let's say, taking a child to a mall or to a store and then they're on the floor and they are incapable of expressing that. So if you find yourself at that cross roads, how do you rein it back? How do you pull your child back? Is it about just sitting down with them?
You leave, dude.
You can't just leave them on the floor.
No, you pick them up under the arm and you get out.
But once you get home, how do you remedy a situation like that? Because I think we're talking about everything from a preventative point of view, but once you're there already, how do you remedy it?
It's so difficult. I think parents are often scared about what other people are going to say watching them, and it can be embarrassing. But one way to remedy it is to try to prepare in advance, for those meltdowns. So it's a lot about teaching your child when you are feeling upset or when you're feeling angry, what you think you can do, or you can talk to me, or you can tell me what you need. So it's a lot about rehearsing this with a child, teaching them to name a feeling, and then teaching them how to manage that feeling in line with their development, of course, and their age.
Have a plan B, man. Code red. Code red. Code red. I mean, aisle 5. Code red.
We're leaving. All right, well, that was the first part of our discussion. We'll continue very shortly again with Kim Abrams, and we're talking about helping your child to develop good social skills, those important skills that will help them all through life, as Graham said a bit earlier on. But right now, let's get on over to the rest of the team.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're live with Expresso. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hugely informative discussion for Kat and I this morning. Earlier in the show, family therapist, registered social worker, and very sociable being, Kim Abrams, of course, joined us here in the lounge to talk about the importance of developing good social skills and how parents can help their child with this, how practice and development of these skills will help them certainly in a later life, in their career, but also just enrich their lives.
Absolutely.
Better with mates, man.
Yeah. And you said earlier on, Kim, that maybe it's the more reserved child who's quieter, who has pleasant manners, that exhibits those
More
good social
likable.
skills that we're talking about. But what happens if your child is a bit too reserved? They're too shy, they're too
Introverted,
quiet,
yeah.
introverted. How do you bring that out of them, those good social skills?
I think it's important to remember if your child is shy, it's not necessarily always a bad thing. You know, every child has a different personality, so
Absolutely.
we want to enable them to thrive. But one way parents can help the child who is more shy and just doesn't really enjoy social interactions is to role play with them. So practice different scenarios. So for example, you know, we're going to a family event, so what do you think you might do when you walk in the room? Sometimes children will say, I have no idea, and you can say, well, you might greet people and say hello, or how are you?
Okay.
You know, and if they're starting a new school and they're worried about making friends, you can encourage them, well, you know, perhaps introduce yourself. I always say to children, one way to start making friends is to give another child a compliment. You
Not
know,
to steal their
kids-
toy, dude.
No.
Come on, man.
Jack, I hope you watch.
Yeah, just acknowledge something in the child, like something.
Wow.
Generosity is a big thing.
Yes, and share. You know, role playing is such a key aspect to teaching your child good social skills.
When you say role playing, like I'm the Hulk, you're Thor, and we smash into the room. No, I really do get what you're
Yeah.
saying, and it's so true. I think that even as children, as much as we love to kind of paint them with a brush, or being even in preschool, being little kids, their emotions are real, and it's an opportunity to start learning. Now, picking up from maybe the conversation that you guys were having last week, yesterday we discussed that the amount of screen time that kids are having is now impacting their mental health and leading to possible, there is possible
Right.
connection to disorders, to depression later in
Yeah.
life. How does screen time at a younger age develop? Because we know there are some positives, but how can it affect social skill development, being too connected to the screen?
I think when we have an excessive amount of screen time, you know, it's social media, so we think, oh, well, we are interacting.
And there is a social element.
And there is a social element to where you are interacting, but it's on a very artificial level.
Yeah.
So it impacts children because they still have to learn how to interact with people around them. The only way you can really know how to develop social skills is through human interaction.
Yeah.
So if you're spending too much, if your child is spending too much time on the screen, it's fake in a way.
Yeah.
They're not really learning how to pick up on facial expressions from other people, how to pick up on what other people are saying, so engage in two-way conversations.
The
So-
mood.
Yeah.
Yes,
vibe.
picking up on the vibe is vital.
And something that Monique and I usually pick up on is you go to a restaurant or maybe you're in a plane, and yes, you understand that parents undergo a lot of strain in raising a child, and so there's a need to sometimes disconnect a little bit, and so it's easy to put a tablet in your child's hand
Yes.
for them to kind of be
Yes.
focused there for an hour while you're at the restaurant or an hour while you're on the plane, but this is where they are so that you can relax. How do you kind of remedy that situation? How do you make that interaction and that interactive space more fun,
You have to play
more
the games
conducive
with him, dude.
Yeah,
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
You have to
I'm like, just
get your console
take
out
away the
and play
game,
the game.
take away the game, and let's start talking.
Yes.
But how? Yeah,
Engage.
because it's very difficult to kind of judge it from one point and say
Engage.
do this, because you don't know how stressful it is in that particular family, in that particular environment. But
Exactly.
what would your general advice be around
sure,
that?
yeah.
Okay, I always say, you know, let's try not to judge each other as,
Yes,
as
certainly not, yeah.
parents. You know, everybody's facing their own
Look at the
battles.
screen when you say, just look at the camera and you say that.
It's so important. You know, everybody's facing different parenting difficulties. But I think, you know, it's important to develop house rules and family rules. So if it's dinner time, if it's family time where you're eating and sharing a meal, perhaps you change a rule that there are no devices. I think we also touched on this last week. There are certain practical things parents can do to enable their child to be more sociable.
Yeah.
But play is vital.
play.
You know, children don't come home and say, oh, I've had a bad day, can I talk? They say, will you play with me?
I want to get my tracks
know,
out. Let's go.
And
do
let's
it, man.
play. So that's how they communicate.
Maybe spend a little less time on your own screen might be the right example to set.
Ooh, Kim, thanks very much.
Thank
We hope you
you.
found that conversation enlightening. Interact with us on social media. Let us know what you thought about that. You can
But
find
just
us, of
for a
course.
limited
It just,
amount of
#Expresso Show.